Chris, settled in since we first spoke when you took the job on Zoom. 3 games in, no defeats. What's your assessment of the squad and the way they go?
I think mostly good. It's of course takes a little while to settle in. The fact that we've not been beaten is something that's pleasing to me. Probably the biggest disappointment was the Rotherham game, where certainly in that second half period it was probably our best period, I think, in the 3 games so far, and the period where we had the most chances. So that's the one where I think we've missed a little bit of a trick as such. But I think as regards the other 2 performances, probably on the day fair results. And
you found a way to scoring in every game. Well, if you're scoring, you're giving yourself a chance of winning, don't you?
Yes. This league is relentless, and what can be the case one game can be completely different the next game. But as long as you're in every game, and for us probably it's just sort of turning round our sort of first half and second half fortunes. We've finished strong in games, which is good. But I think probably that's one area to address. We just need to start games a little bit better.
Has this group as a whole surprised you in what they've shown through the first 3 games, or is it pretty much what your assessment was before you came?
No, I think probably very much my assessment already. I mean, I know there's a little period of time, but this is a team, and predominantly it's sort of majority, I think, of the same players that were here, last season that fared very well for a good chunk of the season. So, for whatever reason, that didn't happen towards the end of last season and the beginning of this. It's just about perhaps getting back on track a little bit. We have had additions, so I think the squad is bigger. I've got to manoeuvre myself around the squad and the new players to get a real good feel for them and the strength of the squad. But no, probably no real surprises.
What about Luton? They're next up on the schedule for you. Obviously, Nathan Jones went back at the end of last season, did enough to keep them up, and they started this season extremely well. It's been a bit indifferent over the last couple of weeks, though.
Yes, but I know Nathan very well from a time at Brighton, and he was an excellent coach then, and has gone on to be an excellent manager, having 2 really good spells at Luton. So I think their start to the season is no surprise. They finished last season very strong, and of course stayed in the division. So I think their start is not a surprise to me, and he's a very young, bright manager that's got a very good future in the game.
Of course, traditionally the last few years have been strong at home, and it's a fairly unique environment down there, isn't it?
It is, yes, and it's a club and a stadium that I know very well. Been to watch lots of games there over the years. So yes, one that I know very well, and what they have done over the years, as most clubs have done, is that they've used any advantage that they can get from the stadium.
And if I can ask you as well about the FA's announcement this morning on Paul Elliott, they've launched the Football Leadership Diversity Code. Nottingham Forest are one of the 42 signatories to it. Is this a step in the right direction?
Yes, it is, and I know Paul very well, and the push for the campaign very well. And I think the initiative was to get as many clubs on board as possible, and I think probably it would be looked at as as a good start, and it's how the code can develop over a number of years. For those that haven't signed up at this moment, it will be a question of getting these other clubs to sign up, or there will be clubs that have a structure already in place that almost mirrors what the code stands for. So it's yes, I think it's a start, an exciting start, and we just look forward to that code being implemented.
And I know you and I have spoken about this before, because you're one of the relatively few managers in the Football League ladder from a minority background. Is it something that was needed to promote the diversity within the game, not just at managerial level, but in boardrooms as well?
Absolutely, it was something that was needed, and and particularly at this period, and with so many campaigns, and of course the Black Lives Matter campaign, and so being so strong over in particular this month. There are so many people that you've spoke to that have accepted that we don't have enough diversity in particularly in senior management positions at clubs, and that's on the pitch and off the pitch. So that being the case, then structures have to be put in place for that to happen. So I think one is accepting it, and I think there are an awful lot of people that have accepted that there needs to be that change, and the only way that can change is, as I say, putting things in place and structures in place to enable that to happen.
Absolutely. Best of luck tomorrow night.
Lovely, thank you.
Hi Chris, I just pick up on the back of that if I can. I saw it, as you mentioned, some clubs have signed up to it, some haven't. Do you think it goes far enough, or does the fact that it's voluntary, in one word I saw was toothless because it's voluntary, is that fair?
No, I think it's voluntary because of legal aspects, and I think we not in a position really to prejudge those that haven't signed up, because I think there will always be some circumstances, and I think there will be clubs that already have structures in place, or are looking to put structures in place that cover all of them grounds. What do we all want? We want the end product, and the end product is to have a game that's as diverse as what we want it, and which covers not only what you see on the football pitch, but what you see in the boardroom, what you see at senior management, what you see in the physio department, and so I think that's what we all want, but it's the best way to get there, and some will look at this as a starting position for us that have been in the game, a long time. We want it to happen, and we want it to happen as quick as possible. But there are going to be hurdles along the way from individual clubs. There will be some clubs that will be very much set up for it, and this is I don't think anybody would think that this is something that will happen very comfortably and easy. For some, it will be easier than others, but it's about the end product.
When I first met you, it was before the Blackburn game, and I was asking you how you feel like the dynamic of there being no supporters in there will affect the game, affect the way that you manage. Have you found that now 3 games in, the lack of supporters, lack of an atmosphere, particularly on an East Midlands derby last Friday night, is impacting the way that games play out?
I think it's very, very difficult to fully explain. It must have some bearing, it must do. My experiences so far is that for that 93, 94 minutes that you are on the football pitch, and your concentrations and so it's in some ways the same as normal. Whether that's exactly the same for every player, then it might differ. So I think it has to affect it in some way, but I don't think it's dramatic. As I say, I think once that game starts, I think very much everybody's focused on doing the best that they can, making sure that they don't concede goals and score as many as they can. It's probably lots of the things around it, in the changing room. Arriving at the stadium, where normally you arrive at a stadium and it's full of supporters, and it can be quite empty. So I think it's probably the bits around it as opposed to what's happening on the football pitch.
We saw reports over the weekend about Lewis Grabban possibly moving away, possibly even wanting to move away, and then just as quickly as those stories and reports surfaced, they seemed to die again, in the sense that he said that he was going to stay. Can you explain to me your awareness of that situation and what happened?
I can, but it's very difficult, because I was very aware of what the rumours were, or the rumours are, but I can only deal with something that's put in front of me, which is fact, and certainly it was mostly speculation, I think what we always have is rumours that are going to drive certain situations. But I said I can only deal with anything factual that's put in front of me. So it was a comfortable weekend for myself where I didn't receive any phone calls on that. Lewis is a player that's done incredibly well, I think, for this football club as regards certainly the goals that he's scored. He's an important part of what we're doing, and I think, very much so that will continue to be fact. You
said mostly speculation there. Does that mean there was some fact in it, or was it?
Well, I mean, again, if there was or if there wasn't, I can only deal with something factual. So I say it very much, I think, was speculation, and it's about the player and the relationship that he has, and he's got a very good relationship with this football club, and for the periods of time that I've watched him play for this club, he's fared very well and scored goals, and I say I think that will continue.
I was listening to Lyle Taylor's post-match interview after the game the other night, and I couldn't help but be impressed by the man, the way that he spoke, the things that he was passionate about. I wonder how you found him to deal with in the first few weeks in the football club. They're both two of them new to the club, and how good he is to have around the building, I guess. Yeah,
well, I mean, Lyle's a player that I know. I probably personally don't know him so well, and of course I've seen him play at the various clubs, but I think he's the type of player that you get to know better once you're working with him, and have been impressed with everything that he's done. He's certainly got a big desire to want to do well, and I think we've got him at a good stage of his career, and we hope to get the benefits from that. Of course, what we have also is a player that hasn't played as much football, and certainly hasn't played as much 90 minutes as other players. So what we've got is a hungry player at this stage of his career that wants to do well, and there's some good combinations there.
My colleague covered most of the stuff about the game with Luton, so I just wanted to end by asking you about Gary Brazil and the academy, because I spoke to him last week, and Forest are pretty renowned for bringing a lot of players through the youth team, through the YTS system, and making them first team stars. In your first few weeks in the job, have you been impressed and had much to do with the academy and the work that Gary Brazil does?
Not so much. Only an interest that is always very natural to me. I was at the under-23 game last week against Watford, and we played very well on the back of another win yesterday. So I'm very conscious of the work that Gary does. A club like this needs to be bringing through young players, and if I look at the clubs that I've been at so far, I've always paid a big interest in young players coming through. I've always had under 23 players at various times training with the first team, and I think that's a real good opportunity you get to know about them and to learn about them. So so in a short period of time I've tried to learn as much as I can. Everybody would be aware that my focus is very much have to be on the first team, particularly with the volume of games that we've got. But absolutely, and myself and my staff certainly will have that interest in what we're doing at academy level.